Good evening and welcome to Tamil Heritage Trust Monthly Heritage Talk. Thank you very much for joining us this evening for the talk for the month of May 2024. As always, a quick introduction to Tamil Heritage Trust. We were established back in 2010 to celebrate, to understand, to appreciate, to disseminate India's rich and varied heritage among the interested public. Towards this, we hold a number of events. This is our flagship event, the Monthly Heritage Talk, which has been going on for all of the last 13 years, which is held on the first Saturday of every month. And of course, since the pandemic, we moved it online, so we have a wider audience across India and the rest of the globe. We have also conduct a 2-day seminar during the Kacheri season in Chennai, which is December of every year. And this is a more in-depth look at specific topics. As you can see there, the topics are more specialized. We've talked about Pallava Mallai, Cholas, and so on. We also have an annual Indology Festival, which is again online, and that happens in the month of June. And I'm happy to inform you that the next Indology Festival is taking shape, and I will give you a brief glimpse of what's going on there. All our talks are free to view on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Tamil Heritage Trust. You can watch them at any time at your leisure. Please do subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon so that you will receive notifications when programs are on. We conduct workshops here in Chennai as well as in other cities of heritage importance. The workshops here are in the range of how to see a temple, how to see a museum, Pallava Grantham, and so on. And those in other cities are what we call a site seminar, where a number of us are prepared to explore a site in detail of heritage, a site of historical and heritage importance. We conduct a program for teachers to encourage teachers who are interested in the spreading of heritage of Indian history and so on, to help them and support them in their efforts. We give away a couple of awards. One is named after our co-founder, Professor Swaminathan. The THT Professor Swaminathan Heritage Award is for individuals who contribute in the area of heritage. And the V. Venkaya Epigraphy Award, which has been set up by the family of Shri V. Venkaya, who was India's first Indian epigraphist. In fact, the nominations for the V. Venkaya Epigraphy Award for 2024 are open now. The last date for nominations is 21st May 2024. The details are available on our website, tamilheritage.in. If you know an epigraphist or even an enthusiast epigraphist, not necessarily a professional epigraphist, who has done a lot of work in the area of epigraphy, inscriptions, and so on, please do let us know with a nomination, and they will be considered for the Epigraphy Award, the V. Venkaya Epigraphy Award of 2024. So as I mentioned, coming up in June 24, we have a very exciting theme for the Indology Festival of 2024, which is the Harappan Civilization, a century of discovery. We have speakers from all over the globe who've confirmed their presence, and we will be announcing this shortly. It will start on June 10th, 2024. Do join us. It's going to be a very exciting series of talks and lectures on this theme. And this is essentially what is triggered off. The topic is, of course, that it was in August 2024, in 1924, that the discovery of the Harappan civilization was announced for the first time. And therefore, it's about 100 years, and a lot has changed since then. To join our mailing list and not to miss any of our programs, do send in a mail at admin@tamilheritage.in or click on bit.ly/THT-join and send us your details. Which brings us to today's program, and we are delighted to welcome a good friend, philosopher and guide, S Vijay Kumar, the founder of India Pride Project. I'm sure that probably for this audience, he needs less of an introduction than even Tamil Heritage Trust. He's the founder of the India Pride Project. He's a self-taught expert on Indian temple sculpture and art. He has this brilliant bilingual blog, poetryinstone.in, talking about all his learning in art and temple sculpture. He and his team of dedicated volunteers are committed to building this online database of temple art. He's a regular speaker and a columnist in many of India's leading newspapers and magazines. He conducts free workshops for schools and all of that. But what he's really done, not only for us, but for all of India, is for the last 16 years, he's been, what shall I say, bloody-minded and religious, if I may say so, at the same time, in tracking trafficked Indian artifacts across the globe, along working closely with global organizations and assisting their restitution efforts. The list of idols returned with his terms of identifying them is too long here, but I can mention some of the most famous ones, which are the Vridachalam Ardhanari, the Sri Purandana Nataraja, the Sri Purandana Uma, the Ball State Museum, Malingana Murti, the Kushan Buddhas, and so on and so forth. As I said, he has worked towards, in my last count, it's about 158 odd objects which have come back, and if they've increased in the meantime, Vijay, please let us know during your talk. He's played a key role in uncovering the antiquities smuggling network of Subhash Kapoor, and has documented it very well in his interesting book, which is The Idol Thief: The True Story of the Looting of India's Temples. He evangelizes the identification of Indian antiquities abroad, and has received a lot of coverage across Indian and world media as well. Thank you, Vijay, for all that you're doing for this, and thank you also for joining us today and accepting our invitation to give us this talk. Over to you now.
Thank you, Tamil Heritage Trust and Badri and Sham. Been wonderful companions, and we've been doing this a lot. I may say that it was the other way around. I forced you to have this because it's always been a dream to go and see the Indic influence in Southeast Asia, and it's been wonderful, welcoming community of Khmer civilization. Cambodia has been almost like a second home for me, and the number of times that I've gone there, it's always left me in awe. So as usual, I'm going to do a lot of show and tell in today's. So I'm just going to start with the show and tell, so that we all can appreciate the true beauty of this wonderful creation of the Khmer kings, the reliefs of Angkor Wat. What you're going to see today is not my finding, definitely not. It's not a question of unearthing something new. But the reason why I wanted to do this session, especially for THT and other audiences in India, is that I seriously believe that we've not done enough to decipher the full gamut of what is covered in not just the larger reliefs, but the lesser known smaller reliefs. So we're going to split today's session into of course, the larger known reliefs, and dwell extensively into the smaller reliefs. And as usual, before I start, I would always dedicate this work, our work, my team's work, to the unknown artists and sculptors. What you see on screen is one of my favorite exhibits from the Mount Fen Museum. Could be Balarama, could be Vishwakarma. Next, salute to the kings and chieftains who supported them, without whose patronage these brilliant works wouldn't have been created, and to commoners like you and me who continue to go and see and enjoy them. For this particular session, I owe a lot of debt to these people who are listed on his screen and to their works. Vittorio Roveda's amazing paper. I've listed Lucas Varro's online site. It's very difficult to photograph these reliefs because they are low relief. All these gentlemen, my good friend Andy, has done wonderful work. So please follow them. Please follow their work. The individual slides, I've explored the images a bit. So all these photo credits, they've done excellent work, decades of work in Angkor Wat, especially what you're going to see today. So a big thank you to all these contributors. for early audiences, I just thought I'll give you a rough introduction to where and how Angkor Wat comes up. We're just going to jump in the next few slides, 100 years. So what you're seeing is around 800. This is where the Sailendras, Sri Vijaya is still big. Champa is very big. Champa is modern day Vietnam. It's very, very crucial to the Khmer because they seem to have a blood feud. For our audiences who are fresh from, say, Ponniyin Selvan, it's like the Pandyas and the Cholas. So the fortunes wane. So it's almost like the Champas and the Khmers have a blood feud going on. So there are pre-Angkorian Indian empires there, and they were in Indrapura. Sadly, it's not well visited, but some of the most beautiful sculptures come from there. So if you go to Phnom Penh, you will see the pre-Angkorian Rama, Vishnu sculptures. But then we move another 100 years, and there you see the Khmer explode. This is not a session on the Khmer genealogy. So we're just going to see what happens as the Khmer expand. So they are in direct conflict on one side with Champa. So Champa is being blocked. So the Chams and the Khmer seem to conflict. And this is the time when our great ruler comes up. So this is the extent in which we have the introduction to Suryavarman II. I know there'll be a lot of question and answer sessions coming up, why the Varman name and all that. We'll handle that in the session. So Angkorian kings, especially the Khmer kings, had two names. So one, you had their regnal years, and then once they pass away, they have their titular name. So you have Suryavarman II, who later took on the name of Parama Vishnu Loka. He was, in essence, the first king who made a major shift from a largely Shaivite empire to a Vaishnavite ruler. So you've always seen that when the king changes, the crowd changes along with him. But the circumstances in which he comes to power is very, very important. I feel that we should dwell a bit on it to understand the motifs depicted in the reliefs better. So he comes from this obscure line, defeating a relative, probably Harshavarman to Nirpadavarman, and then takes on another close relative, Dharnedravarman. So you have this two brothers, distant cousins fighting each other. So people who are well versed with Indian epics would know why this is important. So you have two brothers fighting, one brother killed, another cousin killed, and then not literally usurping the throne, laying claim to what you feel is yours. So this was the circumstances on which Suryavarman comes to power. And it's such this glorious time at its peak, wonderful heritage. And most importantly, he is guided by this very, very crucial Rajaguru. So, and there you see him, his portrait sculpture. We are going to see this more in detail when we go into this, what is today the most famous panel. But what intrigued me when the first time I visited or looked at it was, what was he holding in his right hand? Usually Indian kings would hold a sword, would hold a scepter, whatever. But what seems to be a dead snake? Let's just see if you can see that. So it's very interesting why somebody would be depicted holding a dead snake. Is there a significance to this? Why he's shown? Anyway, so he turns against two major kings, Nirpadavarman and Dharnedravarman, and then he is the undisputed king. And let's see. Okay, so that's the king, and that's his magnificent creation, the largest, whatever, arguably the biggest complex engineering marvel spectacle. But all of us go. I'm sure, thanks to UNESCO, we have to park somewhere at the entrance, and by the time we brave the Khmer sun, which is today competing with the Chennai sun, by the time you reach the entrance, you're already into your second drink. So most of us are exhausted by the time we reach the main pavilion. So this is where the most possibly the most important relief panels that you're going to see. And the start I mentioned about the two main lesser known panels being there. They are in the northwest and the southwest corner pavilions, and then the four walls. Again, I'm taking it from the paper. I think this is a little much of a complex depiction. Let's simplify it a bit. So this is what we are going to see in more detail. So as we go around, we'll be looking at the different depictions, the larger reliefs, and then we will come into the northwest and what is depicted in the southwest corridors. And here, some of the subjects that they have handled are brilliant because we don't see them more commonly depicted even in India. So we'll see these in more detail. So I've color coded these. So whenever you see green in the background, it's going to be southwest corner. Gray will be the northwest corner. So we are now going to go. And as we start, I wanted people to understand that there's this question that who built these, who sculpted these? Are they sculpted by Indian sculptors, is it Indian kings? The stylization is definitely Khmer. The subjects are definitely Indian. And the way these are depicted leave no doubt on that they studied in the most detail. And this is not from Angkor Wat, this is from Bante Chamar, but I wanted to showcase this particular relief, which I've not seen in India so far, except in paintings. This is actually a depiction of what is supposed to be the starting verse of the Ramayana. So if you know the legend of the sage walking to the river, he sees the hunter. He sees these two Kaunja Pakshi coming together, the male spreading his wings, an act of love. At that moment, the hunter slays the male bird. And then Valmiki goes, Manashadi Prasad, Agamaga, Kauncha Matuna, Ekam Avadi Kama Mohitam. So basically, he curses. I think it's about it's a spontaneous outburst of emotion that he curses the hunter. And he himself is surprised that how he has composed this brilliant verse in this particular couplet. It's 16 syllables, 32 syllables for a couplet, and it's two. At that time, the legend is that Brahma comes up and says, this is for a reason. And because of this, you use this as a starting verse. So what does it say? It basically says, Manisha the Prastham Tvam. So out of pure, oh hunter, what have you done? Since you have killed a pair of cranes, as in love, you shall suffer a similar fate. And that is what is brilliantly depicted here. And for them to have picked this scene to depict, unfortunately, is in this bad state of preservation. But this was how it was a decade ago. You can actually see. So this is the start point, and that they chose this to be depicted shows that they not only know the stories by hearsay, they actually read the verses. They knew what exactly was the start point. And from there, we head on to go and understand the skill of the sculptor. So this is in Kabalspian. So you go up the Kulan Mountains, the opposite side of Kulan Mountains. You see the river in Spate. So here Vishnu is in cosmic sleep. Now that they chose this depiction, let me see if it plays. The reason why. So you can actually see it's an active, functioning, mechanical sculpture. You can actually see that they chose this location for a particular reason, for the depiction to be that of Vishnu on his cosmic sleep. Sadly, again, I wear my other hat where we battle the forces of illicit antiquities trafficking. What 14 years ago this happened. 3 days later, this happened. And now what we see is actually cement replicas of this. So this is another story. Let's not get into that. Yeah, illicit trafficking, robbers are stealing it for dollar-driven greed is still there. But the point I wanted to make was that this was not some random depiction of Vishnu sleeping. They did not go and sculpt this on this random rock by the river. They actually envisaged him on Milky Ocean and the milk churning, hitting him there. So these sculptors not only knew the stories, they also had the innate talent to depict it as an action sculpture. Having said that, let's jump in to what we are going to see the main part. So we are going to go around. So we are going to see 8 portions of the larger ones: the Battle of Kurukshetra, the historic procession of Suryavarman. What is interesting, the 32 hells and 37 hells, heavens, and then the churning, of course, the most massive panel. And then, so we go with the first one. So as we turn right, as you enter, this is the Battle of Kurukshetra. Now, this is a composite of this entire creation. How is it identified as Kurukshetra? We'll see a few, but many of these identifications are very, very subjective. Large chunks of this panel are still to be identified. I believe that this was not some random battle scene that the sculptors chose. So I think we need to spend more time to understand what is depicted. So these are some of the mainly identified units. So let's see what is being depicted here. So let's go here. So this is the most iconic and most easily recognized part of the relief, Bhishma on bed of arrows. And the beauty of this piece is we actually know that on a particular day when the Pitama chose to give up his life, on closer to that day, the sun's rays illuminate this panel. It's again very, very rare depiction. We don't get to see him much except in a few Hoysala sculptures. And this is from the website. You can see that it's almost falling on him on the sacred day. The second depiction is what is identified as Karna and Abhimanyu. So this part is again subject to conjecture. Let's see why we call him as Karna. Here, he is the only one of these warriors on a chariot who is shown with something like a solar motive on his armor. We all know what happened with his original armor. He was born with a kavacha and kundala. So here he is shown, and another place also we will see him. So 2 places Karna is shown. Here he is still fighting, and then here you have the more famous depiction of somebody fighting with on the ground. So the identification of him as Abhimanyu. Let's see the next 2, 3 identifications, and including one important identification. The small character that you see on the ground. In this entire panel, there are only 2 people who look out into the audience. The rest of them are looking at each other and they're fighting intense battles going on. So all of them are in profile and all of them are looking at each other, either going left to right or right to left. But there are only 2 characters who look back at you. And on the left, you see the only place where you see a head that is being chopped off and kept on the ground. So most likely this would be the episode where we see Dronacharyas being tricked. So you know what happened, Ashwatthama Kunjaraha. So this is the only place where we see the beheaded head almost respectfully kept straight. So this is, let's say, identified as the head of Drona. The other one is very interesting. This again, you have a charioteer who is turning back and he is trying to pull his chariot that seems to be chariot's wheel that seems to be stuck. So this is where, let's see if I can show you. Yeah, so you have the warrior who is trying to, and as you go in front, you actually see that his charioteer has already been felled. So that's where this depiction we believe is that of Karna, who has been incapacitated. His wheel is stuck because of the many curses that failed him, and he is stuck there. And this is this very, very cute character looking at you. As I said, one of the two who look at you. Very cute headdress, almost like a baby boy. And many people are identifying him as Krishna. So let's see the rest of it. We have some very, very nice depictions. We have Duryodhana, who is one of the few who is shown leading the battle. So you actually see him turning around and his horse is almost jumping away. So it's not a graceful. Normally, Khmer horses are very graceful, and here you see it's almost like a puny horse moving away, and he's showing his back. So this is Duryodhan. And then we have only depiction of two wrestlers fighting each other. And this is said to be Bhima and Duryodhana fighting each other. So if you can see, let me see, get the pointer out. So you have these two battling. So this is something that they are battling. Whether these are maces is something that we need to discuss more. As I said, there's a lot of things that we have to look at. This is possibly the very easiest identification of the warriors. Those who have seen Bahubali would know, one hand, many arrows, and here you see him shooting multiple arrows, one of the Maharathas. So you can see him actually drawing with multiple arrows. So, and then you have Krishna in front as well. And then this is just behind him. Arjuna actually protected the, let's say, less endowed warriors of the fight. And here you see another person with a very unique weapon. And this is supposed to be Yudhishthira, who's supposed to have like a almost like a fan spear. So something like a cross between, let's say, a glider and a lance. So you see him here with like a fanned lance. That's what it is, and that's supposed to be Yudhishthira's favorite weapon. And the last person that we are shown that is being identified or likely identified is again one of these characters who look up at us. Yeah, and this is in this panel, this is the only Asura who non-human depicted, who is also not depicted with royal clothes. I know he doesn't do justice to Maya Bazaar, but the common identification is that of Gatotkacha. So this is now identified as Gatotkacha. So that brings us to what is, so as you see, such a brilliant panel. We all know what is the subject, but very less has been properly identified. I think it requires a lot more in-depth study for us to go and do more. So we go on to the next panel. This is the royal procession of Suryavarman. It's more what is depicted, the grandeur, the dress, the ornamentation. So I'll just quickly run through. This is a huge procession. So this is kind of the king's homecoming, and being the king, his consort is very important. And you see a graceful lady, slender limbs, slender legs, gracefully coming on, and she's got this brilliant Khmer headdress, and she's being brought on. So you can see the hand poses, the ornamentation, very, very beautiful depiction of most likely his queen. And then you have a lot of these officials, and also he is basically sitting in judgment on top of Mount Shivapada, which could be Kulan Mountains. On below, you have a lot of these officials. So the king is holding court on top of a hill. And here you see him sitting there on his royal throne, all the staffs, masters, and all their fans going on. So this is the king. A very different, I know Badri is already comparing it with Ajanta, where the king is sitting on. Here is more, no, rooms are not shown, palaces are not shown. It's more an open depiction. But the way he's seated, you get a royal feel. The king is seated there and is dispensing justice. And you see a lot of generals coming on. So there seems to be a clear hierarchy. So you have, depending on the number of clothes and crowns they wear, the hierarchy changes. So you have King Suryavarman leading the procession, and then you have a lot of his generals following him. So you have the same king depicted on the throne and then leading the procession. Very, very royal elephants. I would still say the Pallava elephants were better, but these come very close. We also see that he carried a banner, and his banner was very interesting, Vishnu on Garuda. So no ambiguities who he was. So he literally carried Vishnu on Garuda's banner. So that's what his standard banner was. And he had a lot of so religious texts that were brought in. So you actually see here, they actually bringing religious books. Sadly, we don't know what these texts are, but they are. So you can actually see the learned Brahmins coming in. So you have some of them with the famous Munkudumi, Pinkudumi. So a lot of these texts are coming. And then this seems to be another puzzle. There seems to be a fire, and in that you have a miniature pavilion. So does it signify anything? So this is part of they seem to be heading towards this. And then you have the palace scene. You'll have a lot of these musicians, jesters, and a lot of them playing different musical instruments. And they had cavalry, horses, brilliant, as I said. Khmer depiction of horses would put today's equestrian raids to shame. Beautiful, beautiful depiction of horses. The elephants. So here again, we talk about, I don't know, a lot of people who would have looked at, who have studied Pallava art would know that there were multiple chieftains. So here, one of the depiction is of a friend of Suryavarman from Sam Cook, who came from the northwest to help Angkor. So is that like a local chieftain who kind of associated with him, like an election alliance? So this seems to be somebody of slightly higher stature than the kings. So he's depicted here. Again, a beautiful elephant, beautiful depictions. So yeah, so the king is arrived. So we can't play Ilayaraja symphony here. So, okay, we are now going to another interesting, rather graphic depiction. The 32 hells and 37 heavens. I don't know if they are in Hinduism, but it was a real conundrum with Buddhism, Hinduism, Shaivism, Pashupata, so whatever. What is depicted here is really gross. So people who have not eaten, just take note. What you're going to see is maybe Vikram's film depicted on screen. So let's see what is there. So you have the man, the most important man, Yam Dharmaraj, the god of death, on his buffalo with his multiple hands, there seated there. So you really know what this is. This is death and death's gate. At death's gate, he's seated there with his gata. He's waiting. So he's basically making sure which gate you go to. Now, there are Yama's assistants, and then I think some of them are trying to come through the wrong door. So you find them being thrown down, saying you're not the upper story, go down. So people are getting thrown, people maybe with some recommendation letters or whatever, not being accepted and throwing down. So they go down. And what is interesting is there are people who are riding horses. So these are people who not walking, they're actually ascending on horses. So these are the really privileged, those who have done a lot of good, I presume, who are going up to heaven on horseback. So, so you have the welcome party on top and the welcome party below. So the welcome party below is very, very different. We'll go and see what is the welcome party. So here is the welcome party. You actually see this character actually holding people upside down, and people are being chained. So it's quite graphic. So people are being skinned. People are, let's see, bitten by lions. So you actually have a lion biting into the ankle, calf. Somebody is being bitten by a snake here. So this is basically attack by animals, I guess. So this is a cobra or a huge snake here biting somebody. And then you have somebody being flayed. So on a like a washing stone, somebody is being put and his back is being scraped. So, and this seems to be somebody being roasted or grilled. So they're all put down, and coals, fiery coals are being put on top, or heavy weights. So basically, I read one interpretation that if you have too much desire, this is what happens to you in hell, and they give you all these loads to bear. And the classic one being bitten and flayed and pulled, pretty gross. And these are people who have been chained, taken away. There's many more. Somebody's entrails, so being pulled out of the mouth. So here people are being flayed and skinned, and they've been nailed to a wall. The skin has been flayed and nailed to a wall. So a whole host of them. So a lot of bad things are happening. Yeah. So you be good. I think that was what the king wanted to say. So this was up in the heaven. You have musicians, beautiful girls, and all that. So you get the idea. And this is supposedly the Rajaguru. So the king basically is saying that his guru is going to heaven. He is shown here, seated on top, and then finally the king himself shown in heaven, showing that he's ascended to the heavens. What is interesting here is that this depiction of this palace in heaven, it seems to have flying motifs underneath, like Garuda. So was it a depiction of Pushpaka Vimana or Atlantis, or something that I'll leave it for interpretations. Yeah, so you actually see them flying, carrying him and flying on the bottom. Okay, quickly to the next smaller panel. When I say smaller panel, this is a much well-known panel, the churning. So again, this is a panel that a lot of people photograph. We will run through. So you have the devas on the right. And what is interesting is they have anchor tenants for your house. You have main anchors and then the rest of the people. So who is the anchors is again a question that we are not clear on. So one explanation is this is Vibhishana. The second on the right is with many heads, so Brahma. So I've never seen Brahma as somebody who was physically strong. We've always seen him as an old man. Maybe in that yuga he was. And lastly, the core anchor on the right. Is it Valin? Is it Sugriv? Is it Hanuman? It's a Vanara. It's a very strong Vanara who is anchoring the tail. And as you can see, the rest of the devas are in queue. So it's like shift. So the morning shift is churning, the evening shift is going to come. So they're waiting here. So very, very interesting depiction of the Asuras, Apsaras on top. What is interesting is this huge people. So these is the waiting shift lines and rows of them. And then we go to the other side. You have the Asura side. Who is this multi-headed, multi-handed avatar? Is it Vali? Is it Gritavira Arjuna? So it's again something that such a popular panel, but there is no clear understanding of who this Asura is. Again, a multi-handed, multi-headed Asura. Possibly, I've seen a few identifications as Kalameni, and then you have another one who is said to be Ravana. So you on the Asura side, you have almost three multiple-handed rulers. And then we come to the main depiction. So you have on top, is it Vishnu again on top, stabilizing Mantara as it's slipping away. And then, of course, I've never seen a more beautiful depiction of Kurma Avatar. The face of that is such subtle and beautiful. Please. So we're going to, so we finished half of the row. So we're going to go to the other half. What you're seeing, we'll see, this is, I would say, the last one, Battle of Lanka is important, but why did, you see, there is a slight predominance being given to Vishnu, to Krishna. Always in this part, you have victory of Vishnu over Asuras, victory of Krishna over Banasura, and Banasura was a devotee of Shiva. We'll see that in more detail. So was the king trying to justify his shift from a predominantly Shaivite kingdom to Vaishnavite kingdom, and he was glorifying Vishnu Puranas more? Maybe he's also saying that, okay, for 400 years we've worshipped Shiva, the fight with charm has been a seesaw, so he's changed his fortune. So let's see what's depicted. So we're going to go into victory of Vishnu over Asuras. Vishnu is possibly the most beautiful depiction. You see him on multiple places here. And Asuras, sadly, this panel, we don't know who the Asuras are. They have not been identified. So you have one such Asura on what is a mystical Vyala or lion. And you have an Asura on a deer. You have an Asura on a bird. So all these are fighting on multiple animals. We don't know who these. So you have Vishnu as the center of this panel, and you have these multiple asuras and multiple animals attacking him, and he is there majestically Garuda. So Garuda is normally not shown in Raja Leelasana. So here Garuda is also very much in the battle. He basically is lifting the Lord, and he is also fighting. So we go to the most contentious panel, Banasura. Krishna or Banasura is something that is a controversial subject. So Krishna is accompanied by two of his Pradyumna and Balarama, and they are shown here. So what happens with Banasura is he's creating a lot of obstacles, and there's a lot of things that Krishna's team has to battle. Here again, it's a very important depiction of Agni on a rhinoceros. We'll see. So when Banasura is putting up his response, there is almost like a castle. The fort walls is like a firewall, and Asura Garuda is shown has he of course cannot be touched by fire. So here you see the city of Sonitrapura, which is guarded by this mighty wall of fire, and Garuda is just one flap of a wing. He protects it. So here we see the first face-off with Banasura. So Banasura has multiple hands, and now the question is, Krishna is shown with multiple people leaning, and he is also shown here with Shiva, Ganesha, Skanda, and all of them are requesting Krishna, who is defeated Banasura, to spare his life. So what Krishna does, he basically cuts off his 1,000 hands and just leaves him there. So is this a depiction of supremacy of Krishna or Vishnu over Shiva, where Shiva is shown as Maheshwara praying to Krishna for the life of his devotee along with his whole family, is a controversial depiction. This is very random. I think it's more like a filler. We don't know what is depicted. So we have the good guys battling the bad guys. So you have battle between the Devas and the Asuras. What was it for? Sadly, it's still not been deciphered. A beautiful depiction again of Garuda straddling Vishnu. You have a lot of these. You have Kartikeya, you have Brahma on goose. The birds are brilliantly depicted as well, and we'll see Surya on his chariot. We'll come to the most important, I would say, of this lot, which I feel has to be covered in more detail, is the Battle of Lanka. Here you have, similar to Garuda, here Rama is on Hanuman, and very, very vibrant Hanuman. The monkeys here are the most cutest on this panel, and they fight. What is interesting is the monkeys fight as monkeys. They don't fight as humans. So you will know what I'm intending to say once we go inside. So you have Hanuman throwing stones. So he's literally throwing small mountains at what is like an let's say. Here, there are a couple of depictions where there are slight identifications of monkeys. There's one monkey pulling the body of an Asura. So it could be Nila fighting Asura Prahasta, but not very clear. We cannot see it very, very clear. We do see Ravana, who's very, very clear. He's got stylized lions pulling him. And then let's say a lot of places where there is a very powerful monkey fighting elephants, for example. So the only reference where we have of a monkey fighting an elephant is Angada. So is this Angada fighting Mahodara, where he's shown fighting an elephant? So Angada seems to be more prominent in these panels, but again, very, very unclear. There's a lot more work that needs to be done. I hope research students who are seeing this, they go. Again, there is here you have Angada and Narantaka, who is the son of Ravana and Danyamalni, and then Devantaka slain by Hanuman. So a lot of these depictions are there, but we need to understand more. Then you have Kumbhakarna, who's now been attacked by Sugriva. So these depictions are not very, very clear. Okay, we know that this is Rama and Lakshmana. It's very clear. They are meeting Vibhishana. But the rest of the scenes, I wish if somebody can do that in more detail, we can see. But it's a joy to watch. So here you see a human and an animal battling. What would happen? Very, very interesting when you go near and see. There are some which bite on the legs, bite the nose. So all these depictions are abundant. So in case you spend time here. So want of time, I'm going into the main reason why we are here today. We wanted to see the lesser panels of Angkor. It's almost 45 minutes. I'll take another 30 minutes to cover these. So we are now going to look at the Northwest Tower. So these are unlike the major panels. These are at an elevation. These are about 20 feet from. So if you've gone around the big temple, similarly, these are very tall. That's how it is. So you actually see there is a panel here, there is a panel here, and there is a panel here. So at this extent, and this is the entrance arch, you would walk in through that. At this level, you have reliefs, and these reliefs are from top to bottom with the windows as well. So we'll go and see. and the lighting is not very clear. If I were to say that that is a relief panel here, you'd say where, even when somebody shows. So I'm making use of some of the reference papers that I had created earlier to have line diagrams. So I think line diagrams are very, very important. So all credits go to the research paper. Here we see, you can see that there is a central figure here and two archers on both the sides. Let's see who their depictions are. So you can actually see what's happening. So there's been a lady who's been kidnapped. Yeah. So this is a very, very minor episode where Virada tries to kidnap Sita, and Rama and Lakshmana are defeated. And this is again not something that we see in any of our panels. This is an early time when they were in the forest. Another controversial panel. This is an ID that we are sadly lost a major chunk. This major chunk has fallen off. So let's see what is depicted here. This is actually said to be Sita's trial ordeal by fire. So Agni Pariksha, that is depicted with all the gathered people here. So this is the central portion. This is the fire. These are the princes, and all of them are here. And what is interesting is the monkeys are all here who are enraged by this. So you can actually see who are all witness, and all of them are shocked. So yes, there is some an act which is not acceptable to a few. So you can actually see them being depicted. So all of them are like pointing out, think how is this even possible? So that's the ID. So we've done Sita's. So is it that, or is there any other depiction? So far, I think this ID is pretty accurate. Sita as Agni Pariksha. The next one, this is on the top, is again something that is open for discussion, but it's ID'd as Rama and Vishna. So Rama is sitting down with a prince, and could be anyone, but since he's carrying a weapon and he's accompanied by the monkeys, it is in the forest. So most likely it could be Vibhishana. So unfortunately, there are no labels. So this was, we had just done a trip, and for us, for size, you actually get to see where these panels are. So you're actually, so he was our youngest participant who successfully completed the tour. So here you see, from here to the top, you have these relief. And what is depicted here, let's see in more detail. This is possibly a panel which we need to debate. I like to explain the episode. So Kamsa sends his charioteer Akura to bring back Krishna and Balarama. On the way, they stop early morning near a riverbed, and Akura goes for his daily ablutions. As he's coming out, he sees Krishna and Balarama swimming, and he turns around, he sees Krishna and Balarama in the chariot. So he's surprising, how can they be there at two places? So he dives under the water and looks up, and there Krishna is supposed to have shown us Vishwarupa. So Akura is supposed to have seen the Paramatma there. Is that what is depicted here? Is because you see two of them sitting down and talking. So this could be Krishna and Balarama on the chariot, and two of them swimming. So is this Akura's vision? So this is something that we need to study in more detail. So, but an interesting depiction. I've never seen swimmers in our sculptures. You can actually see these two swimming. So yes, so this is another interesting. So they've captured some of these rarest of rare, but very important one. So I'm sure a lot of us did not know that this Kamsa's charioteer, Kolhapura, would have got a glimpse of Vishwarupa. There are a lot of people who are on the lower panels you actually see here. So why are these royal personages there? Why are they depicted? So maybe they are all waiting for Krishna and Kamsa, Krishna and Balarama to come. Is this Kamsa's court waiting for them? So this is something that we need to look at in more detail. This is the middle panel where the royal personages are. So the reason, again, as I said, why we are putting this data out and this information out is for people to look at it in more detail and come up with different maybe explanations. This is okay, no brainer. Hanuman is meeting Sita. There's who are you? Is you Ravana, one of Ravana's tricks? So Rama has given her his signet ring, and here Hanuman is showing the signet ring to Sita, and Sita is recognizing them. So it's Hanuman and Sita. And what is interesting is this character depicted here. Is it Trisada? We've always been brought up with this gentle Asura companion. So is it that? So there's another panel. So a lot of these panels are sadly not in great state of preservation. So this panel is supposedly identified as Krishna and Gopis. So let's see how much we can decipher. So this is what we see. Again, what is depicted here to identify as Krishna? Okay, you have Vishnu here, the conch and discuss, not very clear, but when you go near, you can see it. And what is depicted here? He's seated on a branch of a tree. So, and below are women. So, is this Saranagati that is depicted? But we have lost some of these. So, this is another panel where we don't get to see much of it. This is possibly the most brilliant of the lot. So basically, Ravana's antics are going up. So the people have appealed to the devas have appealed to the gods, and all the gods are going to Vishnu on his cosming and requesting him to say, leave the comforts of Ananta, come down and kill this demon. So this retinue is going up. So you actually see them all going up in a queue, and they're going up here, and they're meeting Vishnu here, who is on, I would say, not Ananta, but something that resembles a snake. Let's see what it is. It's almost like a dragon that he is on. So here is this entire retinue. What is interesting is, so Vishnu on Ananta and Lakshmi there. And then you have a procession of 9 gods coming for him to incarnate on earth. So sadly, the Vishnu's face is gone off, but you can see Lakshmi in very, very good detail. Then let's go to the retinue of gods, the details of these deities. So who are depicted here? We have Ketu, Agni, Yama, Indra, Kubera, Skanda, Varuna, Nriti, and Surya and Chandra. Let's see them in more detail. You have Surya and Chandra here, the sun and the moon. So, and interesting is their depiction, especially of Nriti. So normally in our pantheon, Nriti is shown on a corpse actually, but here she's shown on, and then you have all of them lining up. So there is a better depiction of Nriti here. Brahma, Skanda, so Brahma and Hamsa, Skanda and Peacock. And then you have Vayu, you have Indra, Yama, Agni. Again, Agni here is shown with on a rhino, and Kubera on Ketu. And so we go into, so we move from side to this. So this is another not popular episode. This is Krishna bringing back Mani Parvata. It's a very, very offbeat, but he is bringing part of this royal retinue and majestic Garuda, and he is actually bringing this huge holy hill, which holds a lot of precious jewels. And a long story. So Mani Parvata is being brought back Now, why is this depicted again? So you see a lot more of these repetitive versions of Vishnu and Krishna, and they picked up even these small episodes from there to show the greatness of. Uh, we go into the next panel. This is a huge panel which shows an archer. Now, we have two major archers in our pantheon. One, of course, is Arjuna and then Rama. Now, what is depicted here is something that it's not very clear to identify who is depicted here. So you have an archer who's aiming, and he's aiming at a rotating wheel with a bird. Immediately you think it's Arjuna, but there are suitors and underground, so beneath. So it could be Rama Swayamvar, but then Rama is supposed to have broken the bow. So this is another episode that we are not clear what it is. But again, a brilliant depiction. You actually see this the target that is revolving with a bird on it. Let's see. There you can see on top the target, and here you see this brilliant archer and the entire power coming in the stretch. And below you have a lot of these royals. Are they other suitors? So is this Rama's victory over others to gain Sita, or is it Arjuna's prowess? Is something that we need to look at. This is another offbeat depiction, but brilliant depiction of Kabanda Vadam. You know, Kabanda as a Gandharva is cursed to be born without a head, but has a mouth in his stomach as big as his entrance arch. And he is being defeated by Rama and Lakshmana as they enter. And then he, as they burn his body, he comes as a Gandharva, and he's the one who guides them towards south to where Sita is, to Lanka. So this is the depiction of Kabanda. There's another one which is not very clear. So this is what is left of it, but you can actually see. So there you saw Rama Lakshmana with alliance with Vibhishna. This is exact opposite side of it. So the conjunction is that it is Sugriva. So Rama and Sugriva getting into an alliance. Because of course we will be coming into another important panel as a fallout of this. But as I said, we are going not necessarily in a chapter-wise narrative. And here you see a king who is come back on a flying chariot. So the understanding is Rama is returning to Ayodhya on his Pushpak Viman. So here you have, so similar to the King Suryavarman II in heaven, here you have Rama on a flying chariot. You can actually see the birds flying. So is this the depiction of Pushpak Vimana? And you can actually see all the valiant monkeys, all very beautiful depictions of these little monkeys on the side panel. So most likely it is Ramayana. So it's a flying chariot. So the identification is that Rama is basically coming back on a Pushpaka Vimana. So we've done the southwest. We're going to the northwest. Almost done. I'll just quickly do this. This is the most easiest of the lot. What we see here is archer and a deer. So no points. Maricha, golden deer. But it's very beautiful depiction of him taking an arrow and shooting him. It's a very beautiful depiction. This is again something that Professor Balaswamy always comes to my mind whenever I see this. Krishna lifting Govardhana to ward off the village of Indra's fury. So there he is, Krishna is lifting up Govardhana, and this is a motive that seems to be of very close to Khmer kings. We see Krishna as Govardhana in the pre-Angkor depictions. We have a lot of these beautiful Krishna depictions in Angkor. And so this seems to be very, very popular. You can actually see, let's see in more detail, you can actually see him lift up. That's the uplifted hand there. You actually see him holding up, and you see the cows all there. This is another panel which is so far has not been tied up with our mythology. So it's called the Dharavati Vastu Festival. There seems to be a royal barge, a man barge and a women barge. But what is depicted on the barges is very, very interesting. So you actually have, let's see if I can show you. So there is somebody who is climbing up a palm tree. Maybe it's a toddy gatherer here. There are cockfights, bullfights. Somebody is catching fish here. So let's see in more detail. They seem to be playing some version of chess or Chinese checkers inside. So it was not a serious barge. It was an entertainment barge. And here you have where I showed the palm or palm picker. And let's see if we can spot the rest. Here you see common life going on. And here, that's the cockfight. So these two cocks and two, so then, so on the barge you have the Sandakolis being left at each other, and people are actually betting. So they're actually betting going on who to win. Then they're catching fish. So abundant, you can actually see him spearing a fish. So life goes on. So this is what is shown there. So this is another panel that is not very, very clear. So they say it could be Shiva on a forest seated there. So not very clear. Sadly, not much is left. So this is another panel that is open for interpretations. Shiva on a pine forest. So I'll just skip this to come to the most brilliant depiction. Again, something that we have to look at of a brother killing brother. Multiple depictions. If you go to Bante's Rai, of course, you have the masterpiece, but I think this is quite a masterpiece as well. So let's see this brilliant panel of Rama felling Vali. Let's go and see. So you have the brothers fighting, and then Rama shooting the arrow, and Vali falling down on his wife Tara's. It's a very, very beautiful depiction of a slain and a sorrow on the face of everybody. Such a brilliant depiction. So, and fortunately, well maintained and well kept. I wish the others were in this kind of depiction. So, yes, so the monkeys are all scared. They don't know what's going to happen. They're mourning. All of them are there. So I just wanted to compare this with the jubilant monkeys. So it's very difficult to show emotion on a monkey face. Anyway, the brilliant depiction. We also have Kamadahana Murti, where you have Shiva's penance being disturbed by Kama, basically for him to come out of his penance and celibacy and marry Parvati. So he just opens his third eye, and Kama is destroyed. So you actually see Kama firing the arrow, and then there he is half burnt on Rati. This is again a popular motif that we have seen multiple times. Ravana Anugraha Murti. So Ravana's chariot flying over, he refuses to fly over Mount Kailash, and Ravana gets down to move. And here you see the depiction that Ravana is trying to lift, and Shiva basically puts his feet down and he's caught there. So that he is shown under. So some popular depiction, but some very rare depiction that we see, of a very, very powerful Ravana. And for us, if you compare this depiction of the churning, it's almost similar. So that's why of the three, which one is Ravana, we don't know, but one of them could be Ravana. There he is shown with this very unique depiction. So unlike in India, where we show him like this, the Khmer chose to show 5, 3, and 2 on top. So you basically have like a tower of heads on top and multiple hands. This is another interesting depiction of Krishna Leela. Basically, the baby Krishna is very troublesome. The mother ties him to a, a grinder, let's say, for want of a better word. So he basically pulls it and kills the two tree demons, and that's where it's again okay, ground. So it's a very important act because the marks of what was tied is shown in many devotional poetry. So this is maybe a very small episode in Krishna Leela, but it's a very important episode, and that they chose to show the two trees is something important for us to see. This is a panel that has not been clearly identified. So let's spend 2 minutes. So this depiction, let's go into the, yeah. So what you're seeing here is somebody like a demon going into a burning forest. So this portion of it is said to be Kandavadanam, where Agni is going and burning up the forest, which I don't agree with, because the same depiction, we have much more beautiful in-depth depiction, Bantistai. And here, what is happening here is something that is identified as the demon Pralamba, who actually challenges Krishna and Balarama to a wrestling match or a lifting match. And Pralamba is supposed to have carried Balarama and tried to kidnap him, and Balarama is supposed to have choked him with his thighs and basically pushed him, and both of them push him under the ground. So this is not very clear what is being depicted here. So this panel is something that we need to study in more detail, what exactly is being said. Okay. We also have a smaller churning of the oceans. Again, not in great state, but what is interesting is what are coming out just from here. You have a horse and you have a Kumbha coming out. So basically, Bhuvisaras coming out, and you have this brilliant depiction that we see of the churning. We have this what is identified as betrothal of Shiva and Parvati, which is very unclear. It's almost gone. And then you have Krishna receiving. So this is just after the Govardhana. So maybe it is after the Govardhanagiri. Krishna is getting those gifts meant for Indra. So basically, Indra's power is taken off, and Krishna is getting the scripts. So a lot of these have references. These are several references from Vishnu Purana, from Ramayana, Bhagavata Purana. So I've tried to recap this from published references. These are not my versions. These are what were quoted in the paper. So people who are interested to enjoy these. If you think this is too much, just go see them. Just don't come out without seeing them. I think what is interesting is that somebody read our scriptures in such depth that they managed to do these brilliant depictions in their own style. So with that, I would say that thank you. Visit Angkor. It's a cheap. I wouldn't say it's a cheap. It's a budget holiday, and a lot you can cover. And with that comes I put an end. Open for questions, Badri.
Yes. Just give me a second. I will change the view. Right. Fantastic. I've been there only once. Say quite some time back, with considerably lesser knowledge of this cultural heritage of India itself in the first place. It's just so overwhelming. And I did have some notes, some papers, and monograph, but it was just too much, right? You were talking about the time to go in, then you look at fairly large panels where at least you can make sense. Hey, this is from Mahabharata, this is from Ramayana, this is churning of ocean, heaven and hell, and a king's life depicted. So largely, these are fairly easy to spot. But I was quite captivated by the Krishna Leela scenes, the Govardhana panel, some of them that we can recall. But there are 2, 3 points that I would like to ask your comments on. Then we will go to a whole bunch of questions that we should be getting in the channel. So first thing is that how is the Bhagavata Purana, not just the simple Krishna
Essence
Leela,
of it.
so much more so popular, because it is fairly, I mean, if people should not get angry, it's a considerably
Lesser read even now.
it's a considerably later text. And how is it that it has reached such depth and coverage? I understand Ramayana and Mahabharata being there, but Bhagavata particularly, not some of the scenes of Bhagavata not present in some of the other, say Vishnu Purana, for example. So it's a relatively later text, but finding so deep a presence in Angkor.
I guess it should. Okay. I have two answers. One is a funny answer. I think the king would have kept a contest like today to say, bring out the best, most unique scenes. So they would have read the text and brought out, basically like a contest to say what is depicted. I think that would be the layman's explanation to say, because otherwise there's no reason for them to go searching for these very, very small, 2 words, 3 words references and bring out that in that. The other one maybe is that I think the gurus, the teachers and the guides were well read to no small extent. I think we should not discount, because you're talking about Champa, for example. You have around the mid-4th century Sanskrit influence already in that region. So that means there was transmission at a very high level of knowledge and experienced gurus, and a lot of these kings seem to have expert gurus with them. So it could be the interpretation, and most of these we have references to kings being taught under the tutelage of a guru. For example, Suryavarman at least spent about 8 to 9 years. If you want to see a parallel, it could be like some of our known masters like Chanakya, who basically are behind the scene propping up their favorite people. So Suryavarma is one such one. So he was molded to be this super king. So could be both ways. Either the sculptors were given the topics by the experts, or they competed with each other to come out. But otherwise, it's quite rare, as you rightly pointed out, to pick up some of these, because I've never seen many of these in India.
No, my point is this. I'm sure that they had access to text. Sanskrit was certainly their core language. The inscriptions are in that Suryavarman panel. You have those nice little beautiful calligraphy, Grantha and Sanskrit inscriptions. So that's not even the question. I'm talking about their core religion itself. So he is a Bhagavata, Vishnu worshipping king. In that, what is your core religion? In the Indian context, you had people like, at certain point in time, Ramanuja and Madhva, and from a Vaishnavite point of view. Then across the country, in different places, you have different acharyas. I'm a lot more looking at what was that, Khmer brand of Vaishnavism.
Equivalent,
Which was projecting, is it like the Eastern Indian, the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya equivalent? So that's what I'm, so that connection to Bhagavata, how does it connect with that core religious belief?
I think right now a lot of these unfortunately were lost. Cambodia sadly went through, in the near 1980s and 90s, a big churn. So a lot of the text, and again, right now I just remembered what 2 months back, there was a seminar, there was a talk on the Pashupata sect and how it influenced the early Khmer one. I think research is still ongoing, and I think what you pointed out is very, very interesting to understand the transmission, how it happened, what happened, why it happened. But to me, what is interesting is it's very, very clear that he was groomed from young age by his Rajaguru. I think his name was Divakara Pandita. He basically groomed him by telling him, I think, valorous stories of Krishna. So that's why he took his posthumous name as Vishnu Loka. So maybe we have the God King concept as well. So maybe he was brought up on the stories of Krishna's valor, and so that he preps him all for the big battles ahead.
Nick Boyce has a couple of questions. He says, first is, do you see polychromatic decoration on these carvings? So that's one. And second, is there a program of conservation of these carvings? We see deterioration over time in your presentation.
Yes, they were painted. You see vestiges, at least the red. Usually that's what is left behind. In a few places, you get reds and greens. You do see. So at one point, definitely they should have been painted. They did try innovative arch on these. So if you really look at it, there is a lot of water leakage. UNESCO is doing a lot of stuff. But what we have to keep in mind is that for centuries, these have been exposed. And bulk of these, what we have seen on the reliefs is conservation efforts are ongoing. I think Angkor is possibly the most well conserved site. But sadly, not the same with the rest of the others like Banti Jamar and Tabalspian and all. But now it's getting better. But I would still say that it's like akin to wildlife trafficking. The killing stops when the buying stops. So as long as the Western markets encourage the trade in illicit antiquities, it'll be very difficult to safeguard. In terms of these panels, I would say they've not been properly studied by varied scholars. I'm sure if we get proper enstamp pages, digitized copies, we would be able to see subtle things that we are missing now. And it's high time we do it now, because weather is, you know how it rains. When it rains in Angkor, it pours, and when it's hot, it's hot. So yes, a few of these panels are breaking off, but I think the Angkor authority is doing its best to conserve that.
Yeah, I mean, conservation has many components, and it's a relatively poorer country, access to cash. People have considerably moved away from the core religion that this temple represents. Skilled artisans.
I think it's more to do with the quality of stone as well. It's low relief and the quality of stone chips off.
Yeah.
So you have to be really, really careful.
Yeah. Just a couple of other questions. Parvati Ravikumar has a question. It's not on the actual scenes depicted, but on the way they are depicted. That there is no dearth of space in Angkor Shrine. Why would they not carve the scenes in order? That question.
I think we see that in most depictions, even they choose the canvas and they sculpt it. Why they chose the northwest and the southwest and these corridors? These were the only ones which had a flat wall at most points without a window. So most of these we have the windows which are coming in. And I think to answer the question why they are not in order, it's anybody's guess. So most of what we have seen, even in Ajanta, they are not in order. So, but here at least it's just one scene, one picture. It's not like a narrative storyboard. When they are in narrative storyboard like the Valivada, they go top to bottom. So at least that order is there. So it's not ground up, top to bottom is how they do it. When it is a rolling action, it's like always from left to right. So that's how you see the order. So there is some order. But in terms of the numbering of the scenes, I think they would have looked at the size of the canvas and they would have gone for it.
I would like to sort of take off from there, right? So it's very clear that when they were designing the temple, they had chosen the larger narrative because it's like you figured out the scene, then the sub scenes, the characters, everything is figured out because you want to give a certain image, right? For example,
I think they did 4. The rest of it, I think, are fillers. Of the larger ones, I think like Asuras, Devas, some of them are fillers. So I think they wanted the churning. They wanted the Battle of Lanka.
Yeah, the Lanka Battle of Lanka and Kurukshetra is very, very obvious ones.
Yeah, and Suryavarman and the churning, I think, were fixed. The rest of it, I think, it was like how we finished school essays.
Right. No, from there on, the minor panels, it was more like, hey, this is the picture, this is a larger proposal we are giving to the king, project approved. Then there is a lot of space anyway in the corners, in the upper portion, and it is left to the master sculptor.
Fill it up with monkeys and courtiers.
Fill it up with great, wonderful stories, and that changes phenomenally. Okay. Next is the question from Quest Q. Is Khmer literature of that period available? Was Sanskrit used there? And do we see Sanskrit inscribed in the bas-reliefs?
Yes. Yes, for all.
Yeah.
Yes.
What kind of...
So the only question is, do we call it Pallava Grantha? So we're talking about language and script. So the question is, I think we need to segregate the two. The language, definitely yes, it was there. As I said, the earliest influence of Sanskrit in inscriptions is between the 4th and the 7th century. It was almost commonly, like I was in Jakarta last week, and there is an inscription, Trader Guild inscription, where they dug a canal to avoid waterlogging, and the king gave them 100 cows as a gift, and it was in Sanskrit. So this entire region, so we talk about the Shailendras and all that. The language was definitely Sanskrit. Now the question next is script. Now, to call it Pallava Grantham is something that during that period the Pallavas were not even Pallavas. So we need to look at it in more detail, because going back to the 4th century, yes, it was definitely a Indic script that later more the experts have given it the name as Pallava Grantha. So the script definitely has a common mother, and that mother was this script from East India.
Just now, there on that point,
yeah.
The Grantha script itself, which we call predominantly as Pallava Grantha here, we know has been used by Pandyas. We know the Chalukyas used that. In fact, Professor Shankaranarayanan believes that the Grantha script was there even before Pallavas. That's his view. That
seems
it has been
more likely.
Formed. Sorry?
That seems more likely.
Yeah, so that it was there. But one thing we know is that what was predominantly found in the south of India has gone to Khmer. When I'm sure Khmer scholars can find out what is the earliest Grantha. So let's drop that Pallava word from there for a minute. And it is very clear by even modern scholars agree that the Indic derivative via Grantha is the one that is the originating mother script for all the even Khmer, Thai, the whole host of modern Southeast Asian scripts.
Yes.
So that's there. The language has gone. The script has gone. But
to answer the question, there are Sanskrit inscriptions even on these bas-reliefs. We did not cover it because this session was purely on the subject matter. of the narration. Yes, each of them are not labeled, but you do get beautifully inscribed inscriptions. Right from the 7th century, you actually have records of Khmer kings being crowned as Chakravartins on Kulan Mountain, the first Khmer king taking charge there and the consecration ceremony is depicted in a stone that was found, I think, about 20 years ago. So yes, it was very much in vogue. Sanskrit was definitely there. In terms of the script, as Badri clearly explained, they all have part of a common mother. And then over 300, 400 years, the script changed. But definitely, yes, there was this Indic influence. So it was not just the subject of what was transmitted, but it was not just the religion, not just the essence. The storyboards were given, the stories were given, the mantras were known, because without knowing the mantras, as I explained on the first one, because hardly anybody would have known about Valmiki's outburst if you have just been given the Ramayana, the story. So yes, it was very much explained in brief, and they imbibed the essence of each of these stories.
Yeah. There's a question from Pudiyeluthu. He wants to know the connection between Angkor reliefs and the reliefs of Bayon temple.
Bayon is slightly, I would say, not so detailed, but you do get similar versions. I would say, in comparison, if you want to look at execution-wise, Bantisrai is possibly tops the list if you ask about what is the best reliefs. But the subject matter is again, you have most of what you see in Bayon is the Cham Khmer battle, the battle scenes, but not just so you have more of common folk rather than gods depicted on Bayon's reliefs.
Okay. Shivshankar Babu has a comment. He says you could have completely dropped the larger panels, focused only on the minor panels, or done it in two parts because it's just too short and did not allow enough time to be spent on it. So maybe you can have a follow-up session or think of a different format of how to go into the minor panels even more.
For me, the larger panels have their own beauty, but the problem is there's so little that has been properly deciphered. It's like otherwise we would be just showing a video tour of the larger panels. So the reason or idea of working with you on this is to show that there is so much left to be explored and found and deciphered. I think like all good medicine, it has to come in small doses, right?
Small dosage. That's true. That's true. Again, I think there are few things how they have internalized. So this is, see, for us, even in your presentation, you were sort of saying our there. Can you even say our there? It is just as much there. If so completely internalized it is their religion as much as our religion. You can say it originated here, etc. They've completely brought the clothing, the headdress, the jewelry, everything is so completely indigenized, right?
And for me, the we are always seeing Hanuman and Garuda Bhavyam. So to see them with a broad chest, it's like we have seen only Varaha like that proud chest bearing. We have Garuda, Hanuman chest bearing and all that. So it's an amazing depiction.
Yeah. No, that if you look at the Ramayana depictions of Southeast Asia, let's say the Ramakian or I'm talking the text side of it, right?
Okay.
The depictions are later, where you see Hanuman becoming a superhero, much bigger. He's a superhero, no doubt. But the Indian versions always have Rama at the very, very high level, and Hanuman is always subservient. Whereas in the Southeast Asian versions, Hanuman takes on bigger and bigger role in varying ways. which is what you see subsequently in terms of depiction, right? That very big, giant like somebody with phenomenal capability.
But that's
Even
what
Garuda.
Garuda is, right?
Yeah.
That's what Garuda is.
Yeah,
This is
absolutely.
a
Absolutely.
giant bird. Yeah.
Yeah. But with the Lord, with Vishnu there, you have to bring him down. That is a typical, later on, if you look at the Hoysala sculptures, which would
Yeah.
have a lot of time, they become like a small piece at the bottom, right? They are there. They are very big, but not in front of Vishnu. It changes here in that they are, in terms of size, presented just as big as Vishnu, but they're also doing things. They're fighting. They are
Yes.
fighting. Carrying the Lord, who is fighting, but I will also, why
Yeah.
miss an
Keep
opportunity?
quiet.
Meet a few people. Yeah, exactly. Which is
Well,
really
some of these monkeys are really cute. In fact, I actually wanted to include, they bite the nose, they bite the
right.
buttocks
Right.
and all that. But want of decor, I didn't put them here. But it's interesting to show the battle scene. And what's interesting is in like Tamil, showing your back is like the ultimate insult. That they
Mm.
chose to depict that scene is something that shows how much as you said, they imbibed, or again we have to
Yeah.
get, so what belongs to what.
Mm.
But I would say that they have done a better job than many of our own, because I see a repetition happening. For example, if you take our, even in South India, a lot of these are uh, the same stories get depicted. And here they seem to have gone out of the way to pick up these lesser stories. And that to me is very interesting. So I want to ask you, which is the most favorite one of this lot? But if you have to pick one.
For me, certainly the Govardhana panel. In the sense, they have, it's a challenge, but it is also a great opportunity where they have brought that very well. On the bigger panels, the Samudra Mantana is always
Then
too majestic. That you are warned that, hey, Samudra Mantana is a huge one there. But when you go there, you realize that it's
much.
bigger than what you think is huge. Right? You have an idea of hugeness. And it's just unbelievable. But the craziness of heaven and hell, in a different sense. See, we know about it. We have read it. It is also in a sense.
It's
Sorry.
stark in your face.
Yeah, but when you are really representing it, it it makes you, I think probably they were really looking for it, that it should invoke fear. You should literally tremble. Along with that will be the narration saying, if you do this, you go there. If you do that, you go there. You decide.
Yeah.
Right? That starkness, you don't see that presented anywhere in India. So that way it becomes absolutely unique of the heaven and hell, which is merely, subliminally presented to you. Here there is nothing like that. It is just in your face, blunt, and that shows that it is not just the puranas and itihasas, but the dharma shastras, which have completely permeated that society, right? Which basically the Dharma Shastras draw from these Puranas, which then reinforce the Dharma Shastras, and they just together. So it's a wholesale import of religion and life,
Way of life, yeah.
not just a book. Hey, here is Ramayana, from tomorrow onwards, it's your book. And that is what is really fascinating. A fantastic, presentation. This temple is a marvel. There is no doubt about it. But the sad thing is that very few Indians actually visit. That it should be made a sort of a compulsory pilgrimage trip, that you go there and see and come. Not just this, the entire, the Khmer body
So
of,
much.
the sculptures. Yeah.
We should do one just on the sculptures. I still, every time I go to the Northern Museum, I fell in love with the sculptures, and I think we should do one just on charm. Let's plan this charm versus Khmer
Right.
iconography war.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we
Okay.
can also do a lot of Indian, just let us say the Pallava, Chola, Chalukya, Faisala,
Orissa. Orissa.
and Odisha also, vis-a-vis the Khmer and Cham presentation.
Interactions.
Shiva here versus Shiva there. How the Shiva sculptures have changed to how the representation in the Khmer Cham presentation, how it has changed, and the commonalities, and yet the the very treatment itself, how it changes. It's a great study that you should do. You should do that really.
We'll do. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Fantastic.
Any more, or are we done?
I think there are not many more questions. I think we can sort of round it up. But I think there are a lot of appreciations and fantastic presentation. I mean, I really enjoyed it.
All credit to the sculptors and the persons. So we are just like a dummies guide. We're upon our notes, compiling this together.
Yeah.
I'm happy if researchers in India would take this up for further study. All of us have day jobs, so we are doing it as a hobby. So people who have this as a job should do more.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vijay. It was really wonderful. So we will talk more about this offline. There's so much that I would like to discuss with you. But for today's program from THT, let's close this.
A big salute to all the Khmer friends who have logged on and are going to watch this, and be as welcoming as a society as you are as of now, and we will push more Indians to visit Cambodia. Good Indians, well-behaved Indians who spend properly on good things in Cambodia. Thank you.
And for all the viewers, next month we have a host of talks, 12 talks on Harappan civilization, which will be revealed shortly. And it's going to be a great Indology Fest next month for us. And we hope all of you will join us. Thank you, and thanks once again to Vijay for a wonderful